special guest.
Hey, Abraham. Not even that good at introducing myself, to be fair.
Okay, so yeah, here we have Abraham today, and yeah, we're just gonna be talking about what he does as his everyday, day-to-day. Damn, my bad. So we're just gonna be talking about what he does as an individual. So Abraham, can you explain what you do?
Well, I'm an athlete, a sprinter to be exact. And anything else? I want me to elaborate on that.
You can elaborate on
Essentially, there's a lot of training and a lot of research that goes into what I do, and obviously I aspire to be a professional athlete. It normally takes a few sacrifices here and there, but in the end it's kind of worth it to make sure that we're ready for competition day when it comes to it.
That's pretty good, bro. So what inspired you to be an athlete? Where did it all start?
Realistically, humble beginnings, I'd say. There used to be things you used to have races in the playground, and we kind of used to I used to be kind of good at them, and I kind of just thought to myself, you know what, I wish there was a sport for this. I'm gonna quickly turn my phone on silent.
That's so good. So as a young individual, where did you come from? Where did you grow up? What's your background?
My parents come from a mix of Nigeria and Malawi.
Ooh.
But I was actually born in Peterborough. I was actually born and raised in Peterborough, to be fair. So realistically, about 90% of my life was actually in Peterborough.
So what was life like in Peterborough?
Life in Peterborough was okay. We began in we began in Orton. I was going to say nice little area, but Orton's not even that great. that was not been great.
Shout out to Peterborough.
Yeah. And then eventually we moved to Hampton. It was just essentially, if we want to talk about my upbringing, yeah, all right then. It was, I think one of the main lessons I was taught was to stay focused and concentrated, and to kind of know what influences would be good and what influences would be bad, to kind of watch my back, so I don't get kind of dragged into the wrong end of the crowd, I guess.
Yeah.
Eventually it kind of ended with me kind of being able to get a good gauge of it, and it led to me being able to focus on my own path and make sure that I didn't give into any sort of pressure that would cause me to slip away from being an athlete.
Yeah. So obviously, what influences did you have as growing up as a young kid for you to be disciplined into your path?
I think a lot of it would be through secondary school. I kind of felt as if when it came to athletics, for some reason, I don't know where, I can't even explain where the discipline came from, if I'm honest. It kind of just, athletics was always kind of a remedy. Normally if I was stressed out, making progress as an athlete would be what would get me through it. It would make sure, it would kind of keep me motivated through exams, whatnot. And the more we kind of done it, and the more it kind of became more of almost an identity, I guess. The more it kind of led to us kind of being able to do it through any sort of condition. So even because we kind of got a dependence on it, right? So I was kind of just there, no matter if the weather got kind of cold, if it was snowing, if the time was dark, or if other commitments would take up most of the day, I think we'd always kind of find a way to train, and that's what's taken us through a lot of it, even through uni right now.
So as you're still doing it, has it have you made friends throughout that space of time while you're doing athletics since, or have you just spoke to people there and just gone your way?
In Peterborough, absolutely, yeah, because obviously I was part of a club. I think it all changed in Birmingham, because I think when I was in my first year, it was obviously the coronavirus times.
Yeah.
And realistically, it was absolutely absolutely no, did not know anyone. I was lucky to even know a few people from my course, and with that being the case, there was no one to, let's say, there was no clubs around, and there was nothing for me to kind of go off. So throughout most of the lockdown, I still didn't want to lose touch as an athlete, and I still didn't want to I still didn't want to use it as an excuse, or I didn't want it to be a reason even for me to like kind of atrophy, and for me to kind of like go on a downward spiral. So we still trained throughout the lockdown. And of course, being a sprinter, all you need is like yourself and a nice open space. So we'd take everything we'd learn and we'd kind of make our own training program through it. But to answer your question, no, we not too much throughout like the first year. I managed, and then I kind of was dependent on myself for training, and I was able to sustain it with or without a coach. I think eventually I was able to be my own coach. Yeah.
Because obviously I saw, on Instagram, I saw your training regime and what you're doing. So I was kind of interested, during those times and period, like, how was it like just being by yourself in an open field and just doing your training? Like, what type of like pressure do you feel? Like, how do you feel?
It felt natural, but one thing that I was told was that I was kind of told that whilst I was doing it on my own, no one, so long as I kept the same amount of commitment and kind of innovated enough, that I remained kind of still passionate about it. So I was able to kind of make a training program which was, well, we just made it work no matter if lockdown or not, to be honest. I trained, managed to maintain a 6 to 7 day a week kind of training program. And I think one thing that I was told was, not many people will have that idea. So it was my time to kind of jump ahead and use all those months to kind of get ahead of the competition.
Yes.
And then as soon as the lockdown was over, we'd be ahead. We'd be on top. So that was what kind of got me through the lockdown, of just being this absolute menace.
So it was just like you had that full process of being 3 steps ahead of everyone, and that's something like a lot of people need in life, to be steps ahead if they want to see themselves at the top and be consistent and disciplined, because discipline and consistency beats hard work and talent. That's one thing I know myself.
Yeah, that's actually one thing I'd want to just say. I heard that athletics was like it's a sport that is like hugely dependent on genetics when it comes to the elite and top percentage. Like it was just there, like, it's, people are almost predestined to be, ahead. But realistically, and to be honest, that was something that harshly lowered motivation. That, there was the possibility that I wouldn't be able to climb to that peak just because it was like decided from birth, like I wouldn't have these things.
Yeah.
But realistically, getting around that was, I guess, I had to like accept that I might have had to work 2 or 3 times harder, but I couldn't. And I think at certain points it was difficult to like want to keep training because I wouldn't see the progress that I wanted. But at those times, no one, like, it's all on you whether you want to carry on or not. And the resolve that I wanted to like go to was to kind of stay sturdy within my kind of thoughts and kind of direction, to make sure that we kind of see it through, and then the vision of kind of just overcoming that kind of let's say genetic barrier, I guess.
Yeah. So in terms of like competing, have you been competing recently as much as you have?
Yeah, realistically, I've definitely been competing as like an individual. I managed to give myself like a good indoor season, and you know what, it was good. Especially the travel, like staying over in places like Birmingham, I live here, Manchester, London, Sheffield, Leicester, going down to Essex. The travel's really good. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's expensive. I could have taken out a mortgage by this point to stay at some of the hotels. I'm joking. I could not have taken out a mortgage. You know what I'm trying to say. But realistically, I think to know your true potential as an athlete, training will take you throughout most of the way, as if it will with any sport. But I'm gonna say you've got to keep getting that experience in, because experience is such a determinative factor. You've got to keep on competing to really establish your role and your identity as an athlete. And it's built in. You know how to move in the situation. You know how to not let the pressure get in your head. You can climb up. You can get like scouted, recognized. it's always about putting yourself in that kind of experience kind of platform and making sure that, you know, you learn from every single experience you kind of get.
And like, have you had any mentors that you done like a one-to-one with, or people that have influenced you to stay on track on top of your discipline?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't always completely like coaching myself, only when I really had to. And obviously things can get quite expensive, like obviously, like even just living in general. So obviously sometimes I would have to work and then I'd have to push training on later on, and sometimes it would stop me from getting in touch with a lot of like coaches that I've had. But realistically, we obviously rectify this by kind of speaking with them when, and then kind of just getting the session and then doing it at another time, or even just kind of, if I was moved, like let's say I moved to Birmingham, but I still wanted to keep in touch with my Peterborough coach and like keep in touch with all of his tips and his coaching philosophy. What I would kind of do, we'd talk, honestly, it's just goal settings. You kind of just see where you want to be, you tell him where you want to be, and then you kind of just make your sessions accordingly and to kind of live up to that image.
Okay, so talking of which, obviously I forgot to explain this. What events do you compete in track?
Oh yeah, we didn't even mention that, to be fair.
track and field, yeah.
I'm a 200 meter sprinter. I like the 200, but obviously 61, but 2 is my favorite.
200. So what's the difference between your 200 and 100 meters, if you can explain to the audience?
Difference in performance level, or just difference in why I prefer it?
Just overall in your mind, what you can think of.
I don't know. I feel as if I just look more slick in a 200. I feel as if I've kind of, with my training, I've kind of built up like a lot of like capacity and like endurance, and along with like speed that we've refined and honed, I feel as if we showcase more of my athleticism through the 200.
Yeah.
Because the 100 is just more speed and power. But I just feel, I don't know, with the 200 I've got more cards up my sleeve, and we continue to kind of work on those.
Yeah. What's your personal best in 200 meters?
My personal best in 200 meters, it's like, we're looking at like 23.0. But then again, technically it's 22.9.
22.9, nice.
Simply because of the minus wind, but I'm not going to get technical about it today.
Do you think you'll ever hit the 20s?
I believe I can. Yeah, honestly, I feel as if I just, there's always something, as I said before, I think there's always like more cards I can add up my sleeve, and we're still doing that to this day. Like, I think one thing that I've worked on is technique. And once I get that technique built into my striding competitions, I feel as if we'll look at more low 22s, and then we can start looking at 21s, and then we'll go down to the 20s.
Yeah.
But realistically, that is, it's not a light claim I can make. It's not something I can just say I can do and I can just walk off. I've got to constantly have that on my mind. And one thing, I don't know where I learned it from, but I think it's always taking the track with you wherever you go. You don't stop being an athlete once you've left training. You've kind of got to base yourself around it, make it central in everything you're doing. And I think it kind of helps with university as well, because being an athlete in the classroom, like mentally, and applying that mindset of getting ahead, not sitting and then letting someone get an edge on you. All of that. That's where like my competitive nature best shines through.
Yeah, because I think it's in all aspects of sport that you do, because you have like a disciplined mindset. You're calm in situations. You don't, lose the plot. Because like, if you're losing the plot, then you're not disciplined in what you're doing. But if you're disciplined on what you're doing, then you don't need to, react to anything. You just remain calm, respectable, and it also boosts your confidence. When you're doing it, it also boosts your confidence. So it's a really good skill to have, to your day-to-day life basis.
Yeah.
So.
And that's actually something we could talk about. Confidence.
So how did you gain the confidence?
Honestly, confidence has been wavering, because I'm gonna tell you something about athletics, and obviously like any other sport, it's your confidence can take hits. With athletics, you kind of sometimes, like as I mentioned before, you don't get the results that you want, and then that really knocks on it, because you might miss out on standards, you might miss out on medals, because because you feel as if you've done the work, but what you've worked for isn't
enough.
Yeah, that hits your confidence. But if there's one thing, because I study sport and exercise science, and like I think we did sports psychology, and the one thing about sports psychology and looking through like research was that confidence is seemingly more important than I thought it's been. And it's been something that it's used as a mechanism to like ward off like kind of negative imagery.
Yeah.
Because I remember being at a championship once, and like I was kind of just there like, if I, for some reason it was like the 200-meter final even, and like I think all I could think, I don't know, I don't think I was feeling that great on the day. And then like I think the negative thoughts of just like me, like I think I was gunning for a medal, but I think I was just there like, I'm only gonna get, I think a thought just came into my mind that I'd only get the bronze, but we were like kind of aiming for the gold.
Yeah.
And I think that negative thought just before the race was what threw me off, and then I actually got that bronze when we could have done better. So I genuinely think, you know, confidence elicited through positive kind of imagery is how you kind of get it. One thing that I always do now is before the race, I picture myself looking confident and loose in that race, in that moment. And like, it's just like, here comes Abraham, do you know what I mean? It's that powerful moment. And picture myself being in control of that task. Picture myself being in control and becoming kind of infatuated with the idea of absolutely like just taking your opponents down and bringing it down. You've kind of got to have that ferocity about it, but obviously it's like the sportsmanship element is obviously maintained.
Yeah. So like to have that mindset, because to have that mindset is crazy. Not a lot of people have that mindset.
Thanks.
Because you have to like you said at the start of the video, you have to circle yourself around a certain type of people. As you said, you know, as you're in secondary school, and you're talking about how like, you know, the type of people that throw you off, that you kept discipline. So it's kind of been like, so has it just been like a discipline that you've had since young that's made you who you are today?
I think when I started athletics when I was around 11, I would say so, because there was always obstacles to kind of like stop me from training, from things such as, at first it was just like bus money to get down to the track, and then it was employment, education, and I think the biggest obstacle for training has been injury. Now let me tell you something, that is the biggest one. We'll even like focus on that. Because injury is something that can, it takes you out for like 2 months and you're inactive.
Yeah.
And I remember kind of, me and my coach were talking about big goals for the next season. And then all of a sudden my hamstring just goes, not mid-conversation, but like during a run.
Yeah.
And then obviously it put us in like a rough place. Being out for 8 weeks that's a whole block. So realistically, once we kind of, once I was fine enough to like walk again, because you kind of just can't put any stress on it. I think there was a lot of like rehabilitation, but we actually found a way to train around the injury. We found exercises and we've slowly worked our way back into it. Like first it was just upper body work in the gym, but then we could find out that we could just like move in ways that we were able to do like circuits again, but we couldn't sprint. But eventually, I don't know how we pulled it off, but like after, when we were like finally ready to start sprinting again, we had actually found that like we were okay. Like I didn't lose too much, so that's what I'm saying. That was magic, how we kind of just managed to like keep it going despite not being able to sprint, and that's what my sport is all about. So like realistically, I will kind of say that you can find a way through it.
So obviously talking of legs, let's get to university, like social life. How's your social life with people? How's social life?
How is my social life with people? Let me think. There's not, okay, we'll break it down. Around my campus it's quite quiet. I've got flatmates and I get along with them. So realistically, at home is when it's kind of the best. I've got like people who I keep in touch with in Peterborough. So like when I go back, there's always that link up. Do you know what I mean? At uni, nah. Like strange enough, like I'm on a sports course, but attendance has always been like kind of like weird. I think it's like a small group. I don't really okay. Long short answer is like it's not that lively. I can't lie. Realistically, between actually trying to get the best kind of grades for uni, and for trying to do great for athletics, and obviously to try and make a bit of money at the side. Most of it is kind of just done on my own. Like I don't isolate myself from people on purpose. It's just kind of the lifestyle that we've kind of got. And realistically, despite it being a bit do you know what I mean? Not lonely, but it is quite solitary.
So do you socialize with do you go to clubs or anything? Have you been to a club yet?
No.
Well, what stopped you from going?
Well, to be fair, I was normally just doesn't seem. I don't drink.
Yeah.
So realistically, it doesn't seem like my scene. It doesn't seem like I kind of fit in with it.
Yeah.
It's it doesn't I don't know how I've I think I've got maintained my social skills somehow, but I think one time I was gonna go once, but I had a shift at 7 a.m. and I was just I can stay for the little pre-party, but I've got to go. So realistically, there's always something in the way, and clubbing normally. I normally have training on a Sunday morning, so getting back home late before it doesn't seem like a good idea.
Nah, that's good, man. What about girls and stuff like that?
Girls. I didn't. What a twist.
Had to bring that up, man. Had to bring that up, man. Come on.
No, that's fine. What about girls?
What's your experience in uni with that? Obviously, you don't have to talk too much, but just touch base on,
I want to say it's all right, but I feel as if that's not the answer. Realistically, I can't go for as we said. There's a lot going on, but I realistically have this thing. I don't think I would be well matched to a girl who likes to go clubbing and partying too much. I think it's because those girls are typically after different sorts of things, and my lifestyle kind of can't correlate with that. And I once again, I don't feel as if it will kind of mix in the night out and then the kind of night in perspective. Two different worlds, I think. Yeah,
because for me, you see with me, when I do things, sometimes I don't think, I just do it. I'm just I'm just being reckless.
What does that mean?
What, reckless?
No, what is that as in elaborate?
When I'm just doing it, it's I don't think before I speak, innit? So it's a thing where
is there a story behind that?
If I see something nice here, I'ma just that's nice. I'ma see it. I'ma just go
confident
for it. Yeah.
Does that work out most of the time?
My confidence, it depends, because I feel because obviously I got a deep voice, so it's a thing where it's sometimes, and also some women or girls, they're tall guys. They're tall guys, so see the physique, the shape, the way I carry myself. So it's a thing where for me personally, I can be entrapped in their enjoyment, and I could just be you know what I'm saying? So,
female attention is it can do it.
Yeah.
I don't blame you. I get it. I get you, bro.
Yeah, but for me now, as I'm doing my thing, I have to be with someone I'm not looking for anything at the moment. I'm not looking for anyone. I'm just focusing on me. But if there's something of my interest that comes along the way, I'm not gonna say no. You know what I'm saying? So it's a thing where I'm gonna just stick to my craft and just do me.
Is there any sort of girls that you in terms of your personality? Is there any one who what do you consider to not be your type? I don't mean to flip the interview.
Nah, it's cool. It's cool. What I would consider to be my type is someone that's disciplined, who knows himself.
It's a focus.
Who's focused, who's in their roots of their morals of what starts at home. Not what influences them online to just be someone that they're not inside, being two-faced. Because I'm not gonna just say for girls in general, for guys as well, you get two-faced guys, you get two-faced girls. So I'm not trying to target just girls, innit? But it's a thing where they just gotta be disciplined and just know their roots and do their thing. Yes, they can go out. Don't get it wrong. There's girls that can be disciplined, that can go out, and just do their thing, just have fun, just with their friends. They can go out for a friend.
Yeah, but when the ratio is kind of tipped too much to that side and it kind of influences them from the inside, and it's kind of part of their personality.
Yeah.
That's kind of maybe what throws me off a little, but whatever.
Yeah, so never say never. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. Guys, yeah, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. As I say, you know, after every video, have love in your heart, don't have hatred in your heart, even though that person's showing hate, will show love.